Crowman and Camo Boy. Andy and his masked sidekick protect a bean crop from woodies while avoiding flocks of stock doves.
When they're down low, you can't see no white wing bands.
Field tester survey results. This week we take a closer look at binoculars. Which ones are you buying and why? And gulls. A frustrated pest controller tells us how Natural England have got their sums wrong over seagulls. We have news, we have hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. The dynamic duo are back. This time it's beans. And what does beans means? Beans means pigeons. To make sure Crowman's grandson Regan can see the action, he has a new face mask fashioned by Mrs. Crow from a Jack Pike t-shirt. It's not quite Marvel, but Camo Boy, like all aspiring superheroes when coming to terms with their powers, has to start somewhere.
His mum made him a t-shirt and the leftovers from it. I said to her, if you can make him a face mask, it's not so boring for him. Yeah, all right, mate, all right. It looks like we're going to have a lot of noise today. And I said, can you make him a face mask so that he can stand up behind me? And as you can see, can't see his little face. I'm well chuffed with it. Good boy.
Everywhere.
I know they're everywhere, mate.
Oh. So what's Andy got planned today?
And as you can see, the beans, they don't really grow very well on chalk. So we've got a white chalky area just in front of us. So everything we shoot, we'll be able to drop it into that, so it'll be quite nice. And the main flight line is up through here. They come up through this gully, so hopefully that'll work.
You want it? I've shot this before.
I've shot here loads of times before, but there is quite a nice flight line through here, so that'll do now. Wind's right for us today. There's one just come over the top of the hill. It's coming straight through to us now. Look, see him coming straight through here, Dave. There's one here, look. Another one following it.
But when you were recceing this, what were you seeing?
There's a lot of stock doves out here because they're feeding on the weeds. A hell of a lot of stock doves. But there's quite a lot of wood pigeons. They tend to come later. But well, we'll see how it goes. As soon as we turned up, they was coming for this clump of bushes where we are, and like that, you just videoed those two come straight across here with us standing here. So I'll get set up now, and so we can get on.
The bean crop is not in a good way thanks to the dry weather. It needs all the help it can get.
I'll put some of these pigeons up on long sticks. With it being really windy, break their wings all the way down, so they swing about. So when it's hanging up, as you can see how they move in the wind?
But that's longer than you normally put them, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but so that it catches the wind, and that's what they want to see today. They want to see a bit of movement out here.
Depending on the way the birds react today, we may build the pigeon shooter's equivalent of Alton Towers in front of us. Compared to this beast of a prototype, the usual array of flappers are the funfair equivalent of the teacups. There's a good chance you'll lose your lunch on this thing.
I've been pestering him for a long time to make me a rotary flapper.
Oh my God. Does he arrive in a DeLorean at all?
No, he doesn't. He's got a Bentley.
Has he?
He's got a Bentley. But yeah, he turned up and he was blaming my battery why it wasn't working properly. So he said, for some unknown reason, he's getting old now, he put the battery terminals on the wrong way round, and we had an almighty explosion in my shed. There was bits of speed controller and bits of everything going everywhere. Nick changed colour, filled his underwear, and went off with it and said I'll be back tomorrow. So he's back yesterday and he wants me to give it a good run today. It's had a couple of runs and we've had, like I say, we've had a few malfunctions, but once I get a few pigeons out here, I'm going to give it a go and see how we get on.
It's enormous.
Oh, it's enormous, but when it's got two pigeons on it and they're flapping, they do look well. So well, we might not need it. I'm hoping that just the two flappers are do the trick today. That's what I'm hoping, so, but we'll see.
One of the biggest challenges Andy will face today is the number of stock doves in the air.
A stock dove.
They outnumber the woodies about 10 to 1. Andy needs to identify the species before he pulls the trigger. Not a problem for someone who can spot the difference at hundreds of metres, not 30.
The way to tell them as they're coming up across, when they're down low, you can't see no white wing bands, whereas a wood pigeon's got a white wing band. Then it's got the ring round its neck.
As we chat, another species makes a welcome appearance, a turtle dove.
Nice to see. Huh. Strange we're only just talking about it and comes and sits up in the tree and then flies across in front.
Again, completely different way of flying.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
It's a very sort of like bouncy type of flight, isn't it?
It is, yeah, yeah it is. Here he is, look. I can remember when I was a kid on the rape stubbles. There was nothing to see, hundreds and hundreds of turtle doves. But I usually average seeing about 2, maybe 3 pairs a year on average. They certainly have dwindled away a lot. Yeah, such a shame really. Such a lovely bird and lovely sound. So,
Give us an impersonation for someone who hasn't heard a turtle dove.
I couldn't do it, David.
Oh, come on. We need Dom at this moment, but go on.
We do. That's what it's like.
No, it's not.
I'll give it a go, but if it don't sound good, Dave, you have to cut it out.
All right.
It's more of a... Oh, no, it's nothing like that. It's, when I was younger, before my voice broke, I probably could have done it, but not these days.
Go on, I want a proper one. Go on.
No.
Try harder. Go on.
No, I can't do it. It's real high, quite high pitched as it goes.
Andy has some shots, but he fears local combining might have moved them onto easier pickings. Now, one thing we're hearing on the grapevine is that the game meat market is saturated. Lockdown means the freezers of many of the country's game dealers are full, with competitively priced venison from other parts of Europe and New Zealand not helping the domestic market. So here's the dilemma. Do you shoot birds to protect crops under the general licences which don't require you to eat them, and shoot deer to manage numbers, knowing you may not have a market? Andy says he will only shoot what he knows will end up being eaten.
If you think you're going to have a good day, you've got to make sure you've got somewhere for those birds to go before you shoot them. Simple as.
There's going to be potentially a lot of birds this harvest, isn't there?
I think there will be, because there wasn't a lot shot through the spring because everyone was on lockdown. People are going to be making some good bags, I should think.
The thing is, we're hearing things about venison. Someone quoted it that it was the same price as it was in the 1970s at the moment. You know, that is not good. We're going to have the fallow season kicking in a few weeks' time. You know, there's no market, so
no, there
what
isn't.
the hell do we do?
There's so much in stock as well. The meat is still there in storage. I spoke to my game dealer and he doesn't want any. He's got absolutely tons. I know restaurants and that are opening in a week or so's time, but it's going to take a long time to get rid of the stocks they've got. And it's only going to be another few weeks before people are going to be wanting to start shooting deer again. And they're not going to sell what they've already got. So I can see there being a big problem.
Please let us know what you think on what could be a contentious issue. Back to the beans, and with the woodies not quite making it to us, Andy sets up Nick Tate's portable pigeon phone mast.
Is this a world exclusive?
People have seen it, the videos, but...
So no, it's not.
Well, it sort of is really, because it's the first time it's been filmed by a professional like yourself.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
It's on a timer. Sorry, rephrase it. It's on a speed controller, because if it goes too fast, you lose the effect of the flapper. And as it goes round, if you watch, they stop flapping in a minute. There you go.
What he wants to do is create enough energy from the wing flaps so he doesn't need a battery at all.
He's working on that.
You're going faster.
I am.
Stop going faster.
You impressed, David?
Game changer.
Well, we'll find out in a minute. We'll find out in a minute.
Andy also changes chokes to extend the range of the Blaser F16. We explain more about his choice of chokes on a separate upload on our field tester site. One of his two F16s is about to head off for a new custom stock.
Blaser have got me a headed blank, which means this bit is already made for the gun, and then this bit is just a solid lump of wood, and that's going to go up to Midland Gun Services, and they're going to make me a fitted stock. Quite nice one. So hopefully going to go up there in a couple of weeks' time, or just before I start harvest. So they have to be within the next week, 10 days.
Any particular reason why you're changing it?
No, I just want two stocks the same, really. Yeah, I just want two stocks the same. This one fits me, and so they're going to make another one. I just want a bigger palm swell. That's about it, really. It's about the only difference it's going to be to a standard stock. Just going to have a bigger palm swell on it and have it fitted to me, to what I want. So it's quite nice. Then I have two matching guns.
It has not been the day Andy had hoped for. The woodies are drowned out by stock doves, and picking them out has been hard work. Plus, Andy feels the birds have found food elsewhere.
Well, it's been really hard work, isn't it? Trying to distinguish one from the other.
Oh, it has. It's been testing for me, testing for you to pick out the right bird. Yeah, you get 20 or 30 stock doves come in, and there's one wood pigeon in there. It's hard enough me finding which one it is, let alone you. So, but we seem to have done well. But they've done some whole crop behind us. I think they must have moved on to that. Something new, they've moved on to there today. There was quite a lot on it when we turned up this morning. The thing is, they're not doing any damage on there. This is where they're doing the damage. This is where we're going to be keeping them off.
And he expects a busy summer on the pigeons, and if he needed any encouragement, Camo Boy will be bugging him for another day with Grandad in the hide. Thank you, Crowman, and well done to his new sidekick, Camo Boy. Now you see him, now you don't. And if you want to see more of Crow, we've recorded an item about the chokes he uses, which we've uploaded to our Field Tester YouTube channel, where you will also find pieces about basic ammo terms, which we recorded with Paul Childerley at the Sacco factory. There's a link to that in the description below. Now, is he a ballistic tipster or is he a dum-dum? It's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. The BBC is under fire for suggesting that non-whites are not welcome in the countryside. A report on the Countryfile TV show says blacks, Asians and other minorities don't feel welcome in rural areas. In Sunday night's story, presenter Dwayne Fields quotes a DEFRA report published last year that paraphrases non-whites saying they see the countryside as a white environment and there are barriers blocking black and ethnic minority people from going there. The story left the UK's mainly tolerant and moderate country people aghast. Deer stalker Al Gabriel reflects the feelings of many when he tells Fieldsports Channel News the BBC report is negative and there are no barriers to non-whites visiting the countryside.
The majority of the countryside is very friendly. Like I say, I speak from personal experience that I've had more racism in an urban setting than in rural areas in the UK.
UK venison prices have plummeted to levels not seen in 40 years. The market is flooded with meat from New Zealand. The National Gamekeepers Organisation's Deer branch is conducting a survey about venison. Link in the description below. It says it's been working with game dealers, the Food Standards Agency and shops to try and expand the market and look for new ways stalkers and estates can get their venison onto dinner plates by creating local and sustainable outlets. The British Game Alliance describes imported meat as a challenge that will not go away. Commercial Director Mark Staples says he expects the market will slowly pick up again, but will not get back to where it was.
As the hotels and restaurants open up, yes, there'll be more of a market, but it's predominantly, I think, due to traditional markets being shut and not other opportunities available for it in its current guise.
Danish billionaire Anders Poulsen is trying to blame grouse moors for hen harrier persecution. In stories repeated in The Times, The Scottish Mail on Sunday and The Herald, his wildland property empire, which owns 220,000 acres of Scotland, says that it bred and satellite tagged 18 hen harriers, that they all stopped transmitting and that 2 of them stopped transmitting on or near grouse moors. The newspapers ignore the record-breaking breeding success of hen harriers on grouse moors. A spokesman for Poulsen said there is certainly an issue with persecution. Meanwhile, in a newsletter to local residents, Hampshire police in the south of England repeat stories about hen harriers being shot on grouse moors in the north of England before saying, without evidence, that persecution is taking place in Hampshire. Rotting stoats that died in their traps. Is this the future of wildlife management under the RSPB? The Orkney Stoat project has had £7 million of public and lottery funding. Run by the RSPB, its aim is to wipe out Orkney stoats. The RSPB is opposed to using gamekeepers, so is coming up with its own methods. When the Scottish Government imposed coronavirus lockdown in March, these photos show that the RSPB trappers simply abandoned them, which they're required to check every 24 hours. The results are these pictures sent to the Scottish Gamekeepers Association by local people, showing animals that have died of starvation or thirst and left to rot, and open traps still capable of catching wildlife. The RSPCA and badger concern groups are accusing the UK government of breaking a promise of scrapping badger culls. The charities claim ministers are expanding the number of culls instead of ending them in favour of a catch, vaccinate and release programme to stop the spread of bovine tuberculosis. In March, the government announced the phase out, but Natural England has approved 7 badger cull licences in new areas, and the Badger Trust says 10 more are expected to be issued by September. The virtual hound show is taking off. In the absence of real hound shows this summer because of the coronavirus, the UK-based show now has more than 200 hunts from 7 countries participating. Hunts uploaded images of hounds for experts and the public to judge, and the show includes fun stuff such as an auction of sporting lots to raise money for hunts. It runs for 4 weeks from the 17th of July 2020. Among fancied hounds is this superb American beagle, bred for hunting cottontail rabbits. Judging is blind, so nobody knows which hunt this hound comes from. To take part, visit virtualhoundshow.com. A Telford Angling Association ticket holder from Eastern Europe has been found catching and killing carp. Bailiffs attended an incident on the 28th of June at Dandypool in Telford, where 2 men were seen catching 10+ pound common carp, then putting them in a bin bag to take home. One of them had a rod licence and an association ticket. Bailiffs called the police, who stopped the men from leaving, seized their vehicle and fishing tackle. The matter will now be taken up by police and the Environment Agency. Carp are a delicacy in many Eastern European countries, and some anglers from there either don't know or don't respect catch and release rules in the UK. Welsh police are demanding a medical declaration for anyone wanting a shotgun or firearm certificate. The declaration from the applicant's GP must say they do not suffer from any relevant medical conditions. Bask slams the move, saying the police failed to consult anyone before the change and it may breach Home Office rules. Bask says it's working hard to find a political solution to this situation. Welsh shooters are furious. Here's viewer Jonathan Hicks.
This was tried before. Last time I managed to avoid it by saying my doctors weren't prepared to give one, but it looks like they're now forcing it through. I think everyone needs to contact their MPs to let them know that we're not happy with the situation. It goes against Home Office guidance and it should be stopped.
As lockdown lifts, Tom from Olight has an announcement to make about PPE.
Okay everybody, so far here at Olight UK we have donated £18,000 to the NHS for COVID-19. But now we have 50,000 of these surgical type masks, and what we'd like to do is donate them to as many people who need them throughout the UK and Ireland for charities, organisations who need PPE. So we're asking you all to email us contact@olightstore.uk and put us in touch with those organisations that need PPE. So if you can do that for us, we'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom, and if you want to do that, there's a link in the description below. Next, the European Commission has reprimanded France for bird shooting. France has ignored a letter of formal notice sent by the European Commission in July last year, which calls on French authorities to stop what it calls illegal bird hunting.
In May, the French government doubled down by publishing a decree that maintains bird hunting techniques such as traps that are prohibited at EU level. European Commission spokesperson on the environment, Vivian Lunella, says the infringement case is still open. South Africa is proposing that animals some class as endangered could be slaughtered for consumption. Changes to the country's meat safety laws mean species such as rhinos and elephants might end up on the dinner table. This comes after the government proposed expanding a list of 35 domesticated animals and wild game species to include rhinos, hippos, giraffes and elephants, as well as all other species of animals not mentioned. The Animal Improvement Act also promotes intensive and selective breeding and crossbreeding of animals, including lions, cheetahs and rhinos. Anti-hunting organisations are seeking a legal review of the decision. And finally, a man has jumped into a Bass Pro fish tank for TikTok likes. It's called the hashtag Bass Pro Challenge and is popular with vloggers. Most Bass Pro shops in the US have an aquarium. Vloggers jump in, then run out of the store. Kevin Wise, who's 26 and from Louisiana, says he got more than 2,000 likes. He also got arrested and charged with criminal damage to property. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. More news and more in-depth news on our website. Link to that in the description below. Thanks also to the Fieldsports Nation, who pays for our news coverage, our band of 500 plus supporters. If you want to join them, there's a link in the description below. Now, binoculars. Does German glass still rule the roost, or are the hawks and the kites flying high? This must be the most comprehensive hunting kit survey ever conducted. It's our Field Tester Binoculars survey. We sent out the survey during coronavirus lockdown, and the results. You certainly spend money on optics, you Fieldsports Channel viewers. Around half of you own one of the three most expensive brands, Zeiss, Swarovski or Leica, the blue, the green and the red. We will come on to your favourite actual binos later in this piece. Let's start with those brands. Swarovski is the winner with 22% of the Fieldsports Channel market. Zeiss is next at 16% and Leica has 12%. Of the cheaper brands, Vortex just pips Bushnell. Now, what do you use your binos for? 83% of you take them deer stalking, fox shooting is next at 64%, you enjoy target shooting, wild boar hunting and other overseas big game hunting, and nearly a quarter of you are bird watchers. Now it's the prizes for your favourite model. Ease of use. The Zeiss Victory. Waterproofing. The Vortex Viper. Durability. The Swarovski EL. Reliability. Again, the Vortex Viper. And which brand provides the best customer service? It's Leupold. Now the big one, your favourite binos in three categories. Winner in the under £500 category. Vortex Diamondback is the most popular, with Zeiss Terra in second and Nikon Monarch in third. Winner in the £500 to £1,500 category. It's a dead heat between the Swarovski SLC and the Zeiss Conquest, with Leica Trinovid in third place. And there are three contenders for the over £1,500 category. In third place, the Zeiss Victory series. Second place goes to the Leica GeoVid. The winner and the overall winner of all categories is the Swarovski EL. God, those German-speaking nations are good at glass. I hope that provides better clarity. Thanks to everyone who took part and gave us insight into your buying habits. Next up, gulls are a menace to ground nesting birds on grouse moors. They provide a public health and a fire risk problem on buildings, and they nick your chips at seasides. Ben O'Rourke goes all Duran Duran on us with Gulls on Film.
Hey, Natural England, where's the gull problem? Please tell me.
Videos of gulls snatching snacks or helping themselves to food from shops in seaside towns are not new. A couple of years ago, we put out a film showing how daring they are, attacking our reporter Alex. But Natural England's 2019 Gull survey rules that there are not enough of them, so the Wildlife Agency has stopped giving out individual licences to control gulls. It already took herring gulls and lesser black-backed gulls off the general licences.
Well, plainly obvious to me. I think it's because the chip shops weren't open. They didn't have the access to human food, so they all decided to go elsewhere looking for food.
Anyone living on the coast during the coronavirus lockdown may agree with Natural England. Coastal tourist spots in Britain, such as Hunstanton in Norfolk, have been deserted for months. In the absence of chips, the gulls that remain in urban areas are finding food where they can. One desperate gull was spotted wolfing down a whole rat on a street in Italy. For a change, visitors to places like Whitby can enjoy their fish and chips in peace. Falconer and pest controller Gary Baxter warns the birds will return to seaside resorts with a vengeance once the lockdown ends. He says that's one of the effects of Natural England denying pest controllers licences to shoot them.
You would think, in the middle of a pandemic that the government likes to keep shoving down people's throat, this is a pandemic, everybody must panic and pull together. The place that I cover, as you know, Ben, supplies product to the healthcare services. Why didn't I get my licence? Tell me. Please, can somebody in Natural England please tell me what is going on?
So where are the gulls? George Windali leads a team of conservationists on Spaunton Moor, just north of York. He says Natural England's failure to issue licences is killing wildlife.
For the last two years, we have not been given licences to control the crows and magpies and gulls on SSSI moorland, and this is the second year running that they've not got the licences out in time for the critical bird nesting period. This is a crow here. In fact, there's two there, look, isn't there? And they've come up here, one single purpose, to try and steal eggs from all these nesting birds. I don't see why the red-listed birds that nest on the moors, in particular the curlew, the lapwing, the windchat and the ring-ouzels, etc., should have to suffer when they're at such critical levels anyway because of a bureaucratic nicety.
Morgan Brown works on an estate also in the north of England. The grouse moor has been inundated with gulls, which helped themselves to these curlew eggs and mice left out as part of a hen harrier recovery programme.
You know, we have a ridiculous amount of gulls flying over here at the minute. They're doing a hell of a lot of damage, but we can't get a licence to do anything about it. And you know, we've applied, but we've had no luck yet. And by the time we do get one, probably the damage has been done anyway. You know, it could ruin our year.
This is caused entirely by the government's own nature conservation laws and their ineptness in delivering them. Wild Justice have identified that they are possibly not interpreting the regulations correctly, and that they should have been issuing these licences in a slightly different way. But surely it doesn't take 2 years for people to work out how to change the wording on the licences in order to comply with their own laws and regulations that they passed in the first place.
Back at Hunstanton Beach, Gary tells me it's just the latest anti-shooting move, and Wild Justice frontman Chris Packham is behind it.
They're quite happy to sit there and watch red-listed species be destroyed by herring and black-backed gull populations. They tell us that the gulls have had a 20% decline over the last 3 years. There's not a problem, says Natural England. The numbers are going down, says Natural England. Show me the proof. I don't believe you. Have you been infiltrated by Packham supporters?
Natural England claims it bases its licensing policy on the gull population following a coastal survey. But Gary points out that ignores all the gulls living on industrial estates where they cause damage to property. So we went to Hardwick Industrial Estate a few miles inland. Gulls can be seen perched on nearly every lamppost, and scarecrows sway above the buildings. Stopping by a random business that had a few birds above the front door, Gary takes out his Harris hawk, Brooke, and this is what happens.
Well, as you can see, Ben, someone is definitely modest with the truth, aren't they? And that is just off one roof.
Thank you, Ben. Come on, Natural England, sort it out. Now, from one pest species to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube, where hunting is as popular as ever, it is Hunting YouTube. This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Here is some extraordinary footage from Airgun Hunter UK. He shoots a rabbit, all well and good, then a fox appears from nowhere, grabs it and runs off. Tweeds and Pheasants sends me this film. He is decoying pigeons on the edge of a barley field using his Koff's 28 bore. Next, an unusual one. Viewer Per Homeseth suggests Robert Ruark's Safari Hunting, a 1-hour film shot in the 1950s about hunting in Africa. Krzysztof Wnetciak, I can't pronounce his name, of Wnetciak Taxidermy and Hunting, yes, same, from Poland, has his Blaser R93 out after a buck. He ends up with a 675-gram gold medal. Then it gets bigger. Sam Knight shoots one of the biggest roebucks ever seen in France, possibly the biggest. This doesn't contain much action, but it tells the story, and it is fascinating for that. Simon 6 PPC is daylight ratting with the odd crow and jackdaw too. This is part 2, and the rats are not so easy. Another from the crop of young game reviewers, Mark Knott of Team Ferret sends me his latest. It's a review of the Gamo Hornet in 2.2. And finally, viewer Adam films bullfrog hunting with a homemade blow dart gun, which he sends in with the stirring words, "Love your video and what you do for this great community." Thank you, Adam. That's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the I symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you would like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv. Well, that's it for this week. If you haven't done so, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, link in the description below. You can click like us there on Facebook and on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page and we'll contact you about this show. Fieldsports Britain is at 7 PM UK time every Wednesday. Plus, as I said earlier, you can back us, join the Fieldsports Nation there. I'll see you next week. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.